Hey there, Rob from Atelier RGS here. What I've got in my hands is the complete working front brake system for my 1979 Morini 3.5 Sport. Short time ago, it was nothing like this. It was a pile of bits with seized parts, broken bolts, and an aftermarket part that just wouldn't fit. At one point, I even had to get the welder out, which you don't really want to do with a brake system. So if you want to see how I got to this point, please watch the video that follows. Okay, this time we're going to start by trying to fix various problems with the front brake. Let me enumerate. So first of all, the caliper, the bleed nipple was stuck. I have marinated that in WD-40 for a while, so hopefully that comes out. I also want to check that the pistons are moving freely, that kind of thing. So nothing too terrible there, hopefully. This is the old Yamaha master cylinder, so hopefully we don't need to do anything with that. That's the banjo bolt that belongs to it. That's the clamp. I might be stealing some bolts for that because this is the original master cylinder, which we hadn't used for a long time. I managed to break off one of the bolts, so if the ones from the Yamaha fit, that would be great. We've also got an issue that the handle I bought for it doesn't fit. This is actually the Yamaha handle, which does fit, bizarrely. That's the broken one, so I'll need to reshape that slightly. There's also no brake switch in the Morini cylinder as standard, as Frank pointed out in the comments on the previous video. So what I'm going to do is get a banjo bolt which has got a switch built in. I'm hoping that will fit. Again, as Frank said, it may crash into the clocks, but I'm going to see if I can finagle that. If not, we'll have to get an inline one and a new brake line. So what should we do first? I guess start by measuring the banjo bolt and seeing if I can get the broken bolt out of the clamp. See how we get on. By the way, if you hear funny noises in the background, the 3D printer's running again, and my wife is working on her project, so I'll try and edit out most of the swearing. Hopefully this will come out without too much fuss. The answer may be welding a nut on the end. was a bit firmer. Let's see if this is turning or just shearing off. I vote for the first, obviously. Yes, there we go. Well, that's problem number one solved. So, just welding the nut on the top gave me something to get it out with. While we're there, let's see if the bolts from the Yamaha actually fit. Perfect. So, don't need to order a new bolt. Excellent. Right, let's just pack the welder away. Well, that was excellent. Okay, next job. Let's see what thread pitch this banjo bolt is. I think they're either a 1 or a 1.25. So let's see what we've got. It's just a thread gauge. Probably bought it from Amazon. Many threads. Okay, that's a 1mm. Bit more light on the subject. That looks right. So I think it's a 1mm thread. I'll just try the 1.5 just to see. Yeah, it's a 1mm. I shall write this here on my notebook. Okay, so that's the caliper, sorry, the master cylinder problems hopefully solved if I can get the banjo bolt with the brake switch actually to fit. Interesting, looking at the regulations in France, the bikes have had to have working switches on front and rear. The Morini has supplied, albeit in an English, it was an English bike, only had them on the rear. So it's interesting to know, to me at least, whether Morini was selling illegal motorcycles back in 1979 in France. I guess we won't know. I'm not going to bother finding out, but yeah, But I want to get, I'm not going to mess around. I want to have working switches on front and rear. I think it's a good idea, apart from anything else. I've already got the wiring, so that shouldn't be bad. Okay, next job. Let's have a look at this caliper. So the brake bleed nipple was completely seized up when I was playing with it on the bike. So let's see if we can get it loose. Now, I'm not going to be welding nuts to that. That didn't work. Yep. Okay, still seems fairly firm in there. Let's see what we can do. A better grip in the vise. Try a socket on it. Yes. That's a relief. Okay, that is fairly grotty thread, so I will try and clean it up in the wire wheel. Okay, I shall use this high-tech Parkside grinder, which is dead cheap. It actually seems quite good. Not had it long. You know, that came up pretty well. So I just put a little dab of copper slip in, copper slop, which has been lying in my toolbox for about 10 years, so it must be in good condition. I'm sure it matures with age, like a fine wine. snip that up. There we go. Okay, let's have a look at these pads. They've still got a fair amount of meat on them. I think I'll split this caliper and see where we are. I think if I can get the pistons to rotate slightly, I'll be comfortable. What I should really do is rig up the master cylinder and the lever and just see if I can get them to pump out, but I'll do that once I've got the new banjo bobbed, etc. Okay, so that's the caliper apart. Get a bit easier to clean up. Rubber seal, yeah, there's a rubber seal in there, which I will take out and try not to lose. concerned these pistons are slightly seized, so I'm going to put all this back together and I will connect up the master cylinder and see if I can get some fluid in there and start pumping it and see what happens. So putting it back together. Let's clean those mating surfaces first of all. Put a little rubber seal back in. Crack open that bleed nipple and just see if we can get some fluid down there. Find the right size spanner, there we go. Nothing yet. We're getting air in the cylinder, so something's happening. A little bit. Put the lid on because it's splashing around a bit. There we go. Let's see what happens. If you can see the pistons in there. Okay, the one on my thumb side is moving lovely and freely. Let's see if we can push him back in and then clamp it in some way and see if we can get the other one to move. So that's 50% functional. Which is 100% better than nothing. It's genuine mathematics happening there. There we go. That was stuck, so it was worth doing. But hopefully you can see there that this piston is also moving. Okay, that's excellent. Cool. Brake's working. So, last thing to do today, I think, is see if I can get the correct lever, which is this one, to actually fit where it's supposed to. Not entirely sure why it's not. I'm going to leave all that connected together. In fact, I may just leave it connected together until I get the new banjo bolt. Right, so let's try taking this out. Making progress. Okay, first of all, will it actually fit without the... That should do. Feels like it's crashing into something just there. So it feels like that's hitting something. If you compare it with that, there is a bit more metal there. In fact, if you line them up like that, there's a lot more metal there. So that might be the first step. Just grind that bit off. Well, let's do that, because that's quick and easy. Mark that. Okay. Better put a lid on the brake fluid. So just ground off a bit of meat there, and we'll see if that now lines up better. It's simple as that. I shall be laughing. Put you in. Okay, let's see if that was all it needed. That screws all the way through. That seems to have done it. Fantastic. Might need some fine adjustment, of course, once it's on the bike, but using eyeball calibration, it looks like it's in roughly the right place. You've got adjustment, a little bit of adjustment on the thread here, not so much for the lever position, I don't think, but more for the plunger. And I've got it backed all the way off. Excellent. So, well, thanks for watching this brake repair edition. next time we're back on the main Morini job. Until then, I've got to tidy up this mess of a workbench and order some parts. See you next time. Oh, and don't forget, like, share, comment and subscribe. Thank you very much.